Thank you to our partners at Complete Kids for partnering with our platform and sponsoring this episode. Complete Kids is a Gaston County born and Belmont headquartered organization that specializes in behavioral, occupational, physical, and speech therapy for children. So if you're someone who's actually wanting to continue or begin your career in children's therapeutics, and we have opportunities for you at Complete Kids. There are careers right now for you to explore, from getting started all the way to a board certified behavioral analyst and everything in between, and being able to not only give back to the next generation of children, but continue to call Belmont your home. Complete Kids has received approval from Belmont City Council to occupy the old Belmont Middle School and will be occupying in 2023. So if you want to call the Belmont Middle School your office and be a part of this culture, giving back to the next generation of children and still having the opportunity to be in our community, then visit CompleteKids.com and select the Careers tab. Thank you again for your partnership, Complete Kids. Back to the episode. I heard a quote this weekend, and it was, "Legacy is planting seeds in a garden you never get to see." And it was awesome. The person that said it to me, he's a very wise man, and I wanted to just give him the credit. And I actually found out it was from the play or the musical Hamilton, which I've never seen in my life. I know it's probably a sin. I need to watch it. But
I've seen it.
Legacy is planting seeds in a garden you never get to see. And I'm about to introduce you guys, so you don't have to introduce yourself yet. But legacy is planting seeds in a garden you never get to see. What does that mean to you when you hear that?
Leaving something behind greater than yourself.
It's good. It's good.
It's planting a tree that you'll never see. You grow up later in life, maybe your kids will see it, and your family members, generations will see that tree that you've planted, but you don't ever get a chance to see it yourself.
Yeah. Creating shade for those, shelter.
Yeah.
Shelter and shade for those that come after you.
Well, I know I threw an absolute curveball at you guys from the start here, but when we talk about the story and the connection and the history, the platform, every business or endeavor or hobby is going to take shape after the person that's ultimately leading it. So Chronicle Millworks will take shape based on your personalities, and I think it already does. It's creative, it's fun, it stands out, it makes you want to engage with it more. And I think the podcast as well, with capturing stories and creating connections, it's very legacy oriented. I want one day people to be able to look back at these episodes and they see their dad or their mom or their grandpa or their grandma, or one day their great grandma or grandpa telling about a story in time, right? How do we document that? Because that is legacy work. And so there's an undertone in what we do, which is legacy, but what you all do has a very powerful legacy undertone as well. There are things that you've brought back to life or that you've recreated that allows people to take part in that legacy. So right now, as we sit at this table that you built, this table that you created, this art that you brought to life, there's a legacy element to it, that it was once a tree sitting out here in the front of Chronicle Mill, and now it's something that we get to enjoy and we get to share. So I thought the question was fitting, and I think you guys had some great answers. But with that, I'll introduce you to welcome back to the Building Belmont podcast. We want to create connections and tell stories, and you guys are a great connection that I'm really proud to make to the community, not only because of your business, but because of who you are. I have an undertone, and it doesn't necessarily mean, now, if you don't drink, that's okay. I have a thing that I say, that if I can sit down and have a beer with you, I'll introduce you to other people in my network, right? Like, can you be a real person, or we'll do business together? And we've really enjoyed each other, getting to know each other personally. But today we have with us the team behind Chronicle Millworks. Chronicle Millworks, and Brian, you'll get to tell us more of the details of this story. This was a company founded out of the Chronicle Mill project.
Yes.
So John and Jennifer Church, who purchased the Chronicle Mill and brought it to life, and we are actually sitting in Chronicle Mill right now. They wanted to make sure that nothing was wasted. And so starting Chronicle Millworks as a separate company is a custom furnishing company. And now you two are really the engine and the transmission, the steering wheel that make it go. So today we have with us Eric and Brian from Chronicle Millworks. Thank you guys for being on the podcast and coming to share your story.
Thanks for
you.
having us.
So Brian, I'll let you kick it off. I know you were employee number one,
Yeah.
if we don't count John. How did all of this start? How did this begin with Chronicle Millworks?
I think John first purchased the mill. Expectations were to use the land to develop it, and then suddenly realized there's a lot of history in the mill after doing a lot of the teardowns and every development. And he came to realize that he wanted to save the wood, save the brick, and save a lot of the history that is the Chronicle Mill, and create another company called Chronicle Millworks, where we could take that reclaimed wood and stone or whatever, steel work, whatever it is, and repurpose it and bring it back into the mill once it was developed. And so that's where we're at this stage. The mill is developed, and we were able to make all the beautiful furniture you see here from the wood that we've reclaimed over the years.
Yeah. And what was your introduction to this project? What were you doing before professionally, and why did you come in on this? Because a startup it's not for the faint of heart, but you guys built this from the ground up.
Yeah, I mean, I've worked in the building industry. I went to school as a graphic designer and an artist. So I had the desire to be artistic and creative. And I actually got the opportunity, met John and Jennifer, and got the opportunity to work with them to create this side company, for the mill. And it just seemed to be like a perfect fit for me. I really enjoyed being able to come in and create functional furniture, functional art for people, and show the history of the wood and all that we can do, and give them the enjoyment of bringing that back into their homes. And
Yeah.
perfect match.
Did John recruit you, or did you approach him?
He kind of did some recruiting on me. It was kind of like I was supposed to come down and talk to a friend of mine named Stephen Torrance. He's an excellent woodworker here in the area. And we're good friends. And he said, hey, I want you to come meet John. He's a wonderful person. He's doing this development. And I think we'd be a good fit, And so I came down for an interview and just hit it off. John's a wonderful person, and Jennifer, they're wonderful people in this neighborhood, this community, and they do a lot. And I just felt like this was a really good match, and I was just so excited to be able to work with someone like John.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, well, I asked because, John is a natural salesperson,
Yeah.
so I assumed there would be some recruiting in there.
Yeah, he's a very likable guy, so it's not really hard to.
He's someone you want to spend time with.
And he's
Absolutely.
great. He's a great visionary. So he had a good vision for the mill and also the company, and what he saw he wanted to develop and how he wanted to go. And I was on board. I definitely wanted to do that. So.
And then we have the beauty of the operation. If you're the beauty, then Brian's obviously the brains.
You might need your eyes checked.
The most disrespectful thing you're wearing that I wouldn't say is beautiful is your Eagles hat. And I happen to feel that since you knew you were going to be seeing me today, you wore it. But either way, I digress about my disdain for the Eagles, because I really like you a lot, Eric. Eric, tell me.
We won't let that get between us.
Yeah, we won't. We haven't to this point, but we'll see how next season goes. Eric, how did you come to Chronicle Millworks? I know you had an interesting story of how you landed here, of all places, too. You threw a dart at the map? No.
Pretty much. But, I grew up in Pennsylvania, and I have a background in architecture. I did go to school in the South at Auburn, Alabama, for architecture. And I spent the last 10 years in California working out there in architectural firms. And, you started off the podcast talking about legacy, and I just always liked, like in architecture, the idea of like building something that'll last and, be a place that people, can really connect with. And the problem with architecture is it takes a really long time from start to seeing it come to fruition, and it was too long for me. So I had to work with my hands, and I just started in my garage just making stuff for my family and for myself, just little pieces of furniture and picture frames. And I found I really got more enjoyment out of that. There was quicker gratification to having something that you could show off and be proud of. Plus, you know, working in architecture, you're just a small part, you know, when you're working in an office on a large project. And, you know, again, I think it came down to just having that gratification of having something that you made and designed yourself, and that'll hopefully last still, you know, if it's a good piece of furniture, last for generations.
Did you feel like you wanted to do more with your talents? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, it was just more, it was more individualistic. It was more expression of myself, I guess, in what I was creating. And it was just a hobby at the time. I was still doing architecture full time. But then I also knew that as I was starting a family, that I wanted to move back east. I missed the East Coast and didn't really miss the Pennsylvania winters so much. So like North Carolina just seemed just right.
Yeah.
And I already had some family that had moved down here. So when I made the move, I also decided to make the career change if I could find the right spot. And luckily I found them at the right time, Chronicle, Millworks, John and Brian. And it was at the right time for them, and I was looking to make a change. I wanted to not only just do woodworking full time, but have a shorter commute, you know, work in the town I'm living in instead of, you know, in California I was commuting an hour into San Francisco and working, and I don't know, I was just over that.
Nothing about,
so this is,
nothing.
Everything about this is just better for me, and I brought with me my ability to do 3D design and renderings, and so that's really helped, design-wise and production-wise. We can really move through projects quicker, and
so
it's been a joy.
How were you Googling? Were you just looking up furnishing company? Like, tell me about the moment you found Chronicle Millworks.
I just made like a 10-minute radius around where we were living, and I said, I'll apply at furniture makers, cabinet makers, woodworkers, millwork shops, just anything that I could work again with my hands. And obviously, already moving from California, the cost of living was different here. Wages are different. Like I was just ready to, take a pay cut, whatever. I just wanted to do something that I enjoyed every day, going to work and doing. And honestly,
did you knock on the door? Did you make a phone call?
I did. I made a phone call, sent an email.
He was pretty much knocking
I was
down
ready to come
our
knock
door.
down the door.
It's an interesting story. Yeah, I kept getting emails and phone calls from Eric, and he said, I've seen your work online. I really like what you do. I want to come talk to you. And I'm like, I said, well, give me tell me a little bit about yourself. He said, well, I'm from California. I live in San Francisco. I'm an architect. And I'm like, whoa. Wait a second. You're an architect? Like, I can't afford you. What do you mean? He's like, no, serious. This is the choice in life I want to make is to do this. And I was like, okay, so let's bring him in for an interview. And he was amazing. Like, he really has a passion for this. My wife kind of laughs because she sees similarity in him and myself. We have the same kind of passion, the same kind of desire for something like this that's, it's more fulfillment.
Yeah.
You get excited about getting up every day and going to work and doing what you love, and you get to set your design ideas and your parameters and your time, and you get to talk to people who are in the community that you're excited about. Like they really have a passion for this kind of art too, because you're bringing the wood that has a lot of history and a lot of involvement in the community, and they bring that to their homes and they put that in their home. And so it's just something different about it that I think he enjoys and I enjoy. But it was just, kind of a very unique finding somebody like him that wanted to do the same kind of thing. So it's kind of like a meant to be thing,
That's what John says, a God thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
John said it was a God thing.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you had an experienced architect designer that's saying, hey, first of all, moving to where you're moving to here in Gaston County, of all places, which obviously we love, all of us here. But if you're from the outside, I mean, did your family live in Gaston County as well, or just in North Carolina?
I have a sister that had already moved to Belmont.
Okay.
She was in Belmont, and then I had my in-laws were out near Surf City, so they were in North Carolina, out on the coast, and like, I mean, it just really, the southern lifestyle always kind of appealed to me. I loved my years in Auburn, and we were, I mean, I can't say it enough, we were just sick of California.
Yeah.
I consider myself a California refugee, but, and also, I should have said too, like, in looking for work here, like, it was really important for me to find somewhere that did quality work. I wanted to, find a place that was doing the best of their craft, and I thought that Chronicle Millworks was doing that, so that was a big part of me making the call.
I'm really glad after I've spent several hours with you guys just kind of hanging out or even just talking business, and enjoy the intentionality of everything that, and again, it was built on intentionality with the wood that was being pulled from Chronicle Mill, and John saying, hey, what can we do with this? Let's do something with this. To every piece having a story behind it. I mean, this table, tell me about this table. Tell me about the tree. Tell me about the type of wood. Tell me about, how this thing was built. And this is probably the moment where we cue like a lot of awesome B-roll of, footage of this table. So we'll get that later on. But tell me about this table here.
So this was a tree that grew out in front of the Chronicle Mill. It's roughly 100 years old, and it grew out there for a long time. It actually got struck by lightning. John had to cut it down, and the tree laid out there for, I'd say, a year or two, with not really any intention of what to do with it. And the tree at the base is 5 feet in diameter. I mean, it's a massive, it's a red oak tree. And we got a sign that was put on the tree. Someone had purchased a 6-foot chainsaw, and they wanted to cut it up in slabs for us. And we're like, well, great opportunity for us to get this table, or get the tree slab so we can make tables in the future. And so we had all that cut up, and we stored it here at the mill. There was a warehouse out back at the time, and we stored it there for a good 7 or 8 years.
Wow.
It's 5 inches thick, 5 feet wide, 15 feet long, each slab.
Probably 800 pounds, just the table.
Just the top, yeah. They're
Wow.
extremely heavy. So one of the interesting stories is we had a lady came by, and she was like 75 years old. And she said, my family lived at the corner house here at the mill, and I was wanting to get some wood for a table made from, the wood from the Chronicle Mill. And I was like, oh, yeah, great. I brought her into the shop, showed her a bunch of this wood we had, and she saw this slab. She's like, where'd this slab come from? And I was like, well, this is the red oak tree that was growing in front of the Chronicle Mill. She goes, I remember that tree. I was 6 years old, and I used to play around it and play tag with all the kids back when she was a child. And so she remembers that tree when it was growing. Just kind of a unique or a neat little story about, history and salvaging things and repurposing them and putting them back into. So this is what we have here at the room here at the Chronicle Mill.
Yeah, this specifically, that tree too, being able to see something like you all have done with it, other pieces that you've done, and you've done a lot here in this room too, these high top tables here, the mantle, and then also the table when you walk into the leasing office. It looks like a massive, stump. Tell me about that. That's from the same tree?
Same tree, yeah.
Go ahead, Eric. That's
That was the base of the tree, and so
basically it's a biscuit cut
yeah,
slab.
you cut a biscuit from it.
Yep.
It was probably like 6, 7. Actually, it was like
12
it's
inches
6
thick.
inches now. It was
12
12 inches at the time. Yeah.
It was massive, yeah. So
And then they cut the slabs from it, so it was all from the same tree outside the.
So it has all the, the
It
little
grew. I mean,
nooks and crannies of the pieces. And
we tried counting the rings on the tree. We got to like 95,
100 or so,
90, 95. So it almost grew like parallel to the life. It lived its life parallel with the life of the mill.
We estimated the seed of the tree probably started when the mill was founded.
was built.
Wow.
So it was pretty close anyway.
Was it ever a thought to just, cut the tree down and get rid of it? Or was it always, from John or with you, Brian, like, no, we're going to turn that into furniture?
Every single piece of wood in this building, we have always thought about as being a piece of furniture. Whether it's
or an architectural member, like
Sure.
it could be,
See,
go back in as
you can see these beams. They're
ceilings,
12 by
floors.
20 inches by 25 feet long. That's all 500-year-old heart pine. Then there's the boards that go across. That's actually heart pine, 2.5 inches thick. There's more heart pine than there's maple on top. The maple flooring, we've reclaimed that, and we use that in a lot of our pieces too. So we're always trying to salvage something to put back into some kind of furniture piece.
We've used the weaving machines. We've used them as bases for tables, and even we've used the top of the weaving machine as chandeliers. Like, we've done as much as we can to use every piece and part.
Well, it's not only, of course, a good idea. I like the reclamation or this new life that you're giving to these things, but the story that people are able to tell, like this woman who played tag around this tree, now she forever has that piece with her. I assume she did go on to create a table.
She made a beautiful table piece. It was she was so excited about it. It's her most prized possession in her house.
Do you have any photos or video that we can share?
I do.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, not on me, but I do have some.
We actually just recently also did another table for a local client that she really fell in love with the old beams from the Chronicle mill.
They were the reclaimed oak beams too, yeah.
And we turned it into a 12-foot long gathering table for her outdoor patio. And she told us that it was her most valued possession, more valuable to her than any of her jewelry. So
what is it?
As she's standing next to her husband,
she was
who's
standing
like,
next to her husband.
Wait, I bought you that wedding ring.
Yeah. She's like, nope, not that. Well,
So that made us feel really good.
Yeah,
too,
absolutely. I mean, the things that you guys get to be a part of, again, that legacy element, every piece that you make has the potential to be passed down for generations and generations because you are building it. It's great quality.
Yes.
And, I'll give you all a little bit of a promotion here, but have you ever heard of the triad, the quick, quality, and cheap triad? Quick, quality, and cheap. So anytime you want anything done, and I'm sure you guys have come across this, I like the quality, but can I get it for, you definitely can't get Chronicle Millworks for cheaper because everything is intentional. Again, when you're looking at this table, I'll let you tell me about the legs here in a moment and how even all of that was put together. Quick, quality, and cheap, you can only have two.
Yep.
Okay? So if it's quick and quality, it's not going to be cheap. If it's quality and cheap, it's not going to be quick. And if it's cheap and quick, it's not going to be quality.
You're in trouble.
Yeah.
Right? So you can always have only two of the three. You never have all three. So you have to decide. And what I really enjoy about Chronicle Millworks is it is very much so quality. And when you think about that, when you all are building these pieces, are you thinking about that? And I know we get swept up in the minutia of the day and it just gets tiring. It's like, I'm working on this project. But how often do you think about that? Like, this is going to be passed down for generations, what I'm building right now.
It might be our biggest downfall, I think, is the quality aspect of our product is, without question, the most important thing to us. And we get caught up into that. Like, as an artist, I would always recreate a drawing or a painting, and I would continue to just add to it and add to it and add to it because I wanted it to be perfect. In my mind, it had to be perfect. But sometimes you have to stop. But like I said, it's kind of our downfall is we do want to make you the absolute best quality piece of furniture, and you're going to get excited about it just as much as we're excited about it. You're going to look at it and go, that's amazing, that's wonderful, look at this detail. Like Eric, I know he feels the same way.
Well, it's funny because in architecture, like, we lived and died by that, the timeline versus budget versus quality, right? Like that was always, especially I was working on high-end residential homes out there, like they could be $180 million home, single-family homes that I was working on sometimes, and I found that there really is a fourth element that you didn't mention because you can't really put a price on it. It's that artistic element that sometimes, because these people, right, like they're paying $180 million for a home, price wasn't an issue, and quality wasn't an issue. Those are the two things that we always had to focus on. Actually, it was price and time. Price was the one that didn't matter. We always had to focus on quality and get it done on time. But it could have been high quality, as in quality materials, well made, but they had no design. That didn't mean they had any design, an eye for design, and it could, in my opinion, still look bad in the end, even though they had all the money to make it exactly what they thought they wanted. But you need to have that eye for design, I think, in this field.
Well, like some of the little
and
details.
With furniture, definitely too.
Well, some of the details, even looking at this table. So these edges are. There's a word for this. What's this word?
Oh,
Ed.
it's chamfered or
like
The
the
beveled
angle,
edge,
beveled
yeah,
edge.
beveled
So
edge,
like this,
Right.
right? To do that, why?
So at one end of the table, there was already when the tree was cut down, the arborist, had chainsawed the ends of the table, and there was already an angle at the one end of the
Sure.
table. So it became a feature. We made it a feature,
Sure.
and then we mirrored it on the other side of the table, just so.
And also, so this is a live edge. So both live edges have a nice eased, rounded edge, right?
It's
So
flowing, organic.
sometimes you want to keep that rounded edge and use it again somewhere else. But if we were to do a rounded edge on those side parts, it would feel almost generic or something like, the lumber you get from Lowe's, how it's rolled over at the edge. It just wouldn't feel as clean and crisp, like it was intentional.
Yeah.
So that's why we do that edge there, and then the rest of
It's
it's eased.
the juxtaposition between
Yeah.
what clearly is a man-made, that's a
Obviously, man
it's a
cut.
cut by us in the shop versus like the natural edge. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, I like it. Again, back to
Yeah.
the details of the design. I asked something that I know absolutely nothing about because you two are the artists that bring it to life. And, the regular person's not going to notice or have the opportunity to ask that. You were going to say, Brian?
No, we think about every single aspect of the table or design, and we go over and over and we discuss it. We talk to the clients. We want them to be a part of it too. So, we're not going to go out and just do what we want to do. We actually say, hey, what do you think of this? And they get to be a part of that design too. That's one of the big things that Eric and I love doing is talking to a customer and involving them into the build of their table or their furniture piece.
Yeah.
They become the designers too, in a way. We help them along and
Yeah.
decide what they want.
Well, again, we don't know what we don't know as people that just say, I want this furniture. But
Sure.
in your hands, you can take that vision and really bring it to life. And, we're getting to it right now, I think, a bit in your intentionality with your design. But what really sets you all apart? You're not going to, again, it's not going to be cheap. But it's also not going to be cheap, meaning the cheapness of the quality. It's going to cost you a lot, but you're going to really get something that you can pass along. What sets you two apart? If someone is asking the question like, I am really interested in what these guys are doing, I really want them to build something for me, I want to have it forever and pass it down. Why Chronicle Millworks?
There's a lot of
Can I?
things. Sure, go ahead. Go ahead.
Because we're the best freaking furniture in the whole dang South. That's why.
You're on your way. Absolutely.
One of the aspects that I love to use is talking to people's one thing. I went to school for graphic design. I'm a very good artist. Like I can draw a portrait of somebody, make it look like a photograph. One of the things I would do with my designs is like, listen, I have an idea. Let me draw it for you. I would take some colored pencil, sketch it out 15 minutes, show it to them, and they were like, that's it. I want that. That's what we did before Eric came along. Now Eric, he actually adds another aspect to what makes us special. He does a 3D element. Go ahead and tell him about what you.
Also, I brought those architectural tools of, 3D modeling, some rendering, and all that. And, when someone's going to commit to a custom piece of furniture, it's hard for them if they can't visualize it and see it, maybe even see it in their space and know what they're going to get before committing. Because even if we show them, like this slab of wood, right, was all grayed out and all twisted and warped sitting in the yard for 8 years, like, it's hard for them to know what it's going to look like when it's done. Like, even if they knew, oh, I'd like to have a piece of that tree that was outside the mill, well, to show them what it's going to be when it's done really helps people commit to, something, instead of just going to IKEA or, where they see what they're going to get, they know what they're going to get, but it's obviously lesser quality. It's not going to last generations. Now they can get an heirloom piece and have it and be proud of it. And to commit to that, though, as I was saying, they really need to see it.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big part of it to making the sale.
Absolutely. Well, and I've got to experience in our time together some drawings that you had or some renderings that you put together and then actually get to see the finished product. And it's exactly like the rendering. It's not like rendering-ish. It's like, yeah, well, we kind of couldn't do that. No, it's like exactly like you pulled it out of the picture. So it's very, very intentional. But even the sourcing of the wood from the different mills around the area, and what you all obviously did to pull the materials from Chronicle Mill. But I understand you've also done some really great work with Catawba Riverkeeper. So the river room, all of the furniture in there is Chronicle Millworks original, including the bar. So this is kind of a dual-edged or double-sided plug here as far as our business to local businesses is one, visit the River Room. The Catawba Riverkeeper is an amazing organization doing amazing things. And while you're there, I really want you to take in the furniture and the design and even the door and all of that you did there, correct? That came from Chronicle Millworks. Right. Your hands were on it. Tell me about that project.
We did the bar, the big sliding door. That was actually from the McCadenville mill, the maize mill.
In Cramerton, yes, the Cramerton maize mill. The doors that are in the front. That's an old heart barn doors.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And we did the high top tables, the donor wall, and it again, a big part of that was reusing the heart pine that was salvaged from the mills. It went back in. The tap room is in the dynamo, an old mill there in McCadenville. So to reuse the materials from the the textile industry, and it was just important.
Yeah. I really love and enjoy that project, and it's something to be proud of. Again, when people get to experience the story, I do own a couple of pieces of Chronicle Millworks for myself. They're both charcuterie boards, but they are pieces, and I'm very proud of them. I have one in my office that says Belmont. You all were at Friday Night Live last year, really promoting those. Mm-hmm. And then I have another one that John gave me. So one of them holds my bourbon at home, and one of them holds my bourbon in the office. Neither of them have ever been a charcuterie board. But some of those things that you create, I really love even the intentionality of what it looks like for the little rivets or whatever that are in the floorboards and things like that. Like you pull. Nothing is wasted. So even things like that, some of those more approachable items, for me, owning those two bourbon boards, so I'll call them rather, I'm really proud of that because one, I know you two, but I also know the story. But I just can't wait for my season of life personally because it is a very specific clientele and niche that you serve. Right, given the quality, I can't wait until I have one of these in my dining room one day. So it's like that person gets to build up to that.
I'm waiting for one myself.
That's fair. That's fair.
Because I don't get to put my furniture back in my house either. So
yes.
It's always the craftsman is always the one that doesn't have what they make in their own home.
It's fair. 100%. It's like the barber who needs a haircut.
I'm waiting to get that myself. I can't wait.
Well, the products that you all make that are exactly me too. See, the products that you do make that are entry level. Are you guys planning on doing that? We just released an episode about Friday Night Live. Are you all planning to do some additions that are more approachable to the everyday person again?
We'll probably have the charcuterie boards again, but
we're looking to do something different.
I think we'd like to do something different, just to change it up.
Any sneak peek we can get, or not yet? Not yet. Just give me 3 ideas you have.
We're still working the details.
Okay.
Okay. As soon as we're going to hold off.
All right.
You'll
Fine.
be first to know.
Yeah. Well, we'll depending on when this episode releases, maybe you'll already have them, and if you have, then I'll just tack it onto the end or something.
Right.
But things like that allow people to be a part of the story, because when you let people into the story, and it's awesome because John is such a wise businessman, and it's interesting because he's not out here reading these books about it, right? Like he's doing it and he's living it. And a very popular voice right now is his name's Donald Miller, and he is the one that has really capitalized on story brand, right? Like build a brand that is a story. John probably couldn't pick Donald Miller out of a lineup. But building this brand, you all are building a story in it, and you're allowing people to do that. So if someone wants to approach you and say maybe they have some furniture or some wood that's been sitting aside for a few years, and they say, hey, we want to do something with this. We've been sitting on it, but we just didn't know. Can people also bring you and source that themselves if they have it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, we've done projects. People brought their
trees,
old barn wood that they helped build the barn when they were a kid, and now it's torn down, and they want to just have something to remember it by, and make a bench. Or they had a tree that was cut down in their yard, and we make a coffee table, and all sorts of stuff like that happens all the time.
Sure.
Yeah. And what about like metal working? Because you all did this as well with these legs.
Yeah.
If someone has something, I don't know what people are holding on to out there, but someone listening to this right now is like, honey, I told you I didn't need to throw that away. They had it in their barn holding up space forever. You all do things like that. If people ever brought you metal products and said, build us something out of this?
We haven't had anybody bring anything like that, but we do metal work. I taught myself how to weld, and we take a lot of I like doing steel bases for wood, tabletops and furniture pieces. Just gives you a better structure, and I can do all kinds of interesting designs, and you can rust the steel like we have here for this table. The legs are actually the steel that was in the air conditioning room that held the beams up, and we used the turnbuckles and all the steel and added some more steel to it, and then we brushed it to make it look like it's all uniform. But
I'd say we kind of developed a style of our own, and it's definitely modern contemporary. We do a lot of metal bases with wood tops, and we incorporate metal in a lot of ways into a lot of our projects.
Yeah.
So we do all our welding in-house, we do our own metal work, and then the woodworking also. So.
And you're here, local, obviously, just right down the road in
Yep.
Gastonia, and so people know where they can find you. How does someone engage with you? They listen to this episode and they say, "Wow, I want to work with those guys." Where do I need to send them next?
So we have a showroom. We love giving people tours of the shop. It's 116 Ledford Drive, Gastonia. And you can also go to our website, chroniclemillworks.com, and Instagram. We love posting. That's the place to go to see all our current work and recent projects.
We post almost every day or so of the work that we do.
Try to keep up there.
Gets a good idea of like what kind of furniture we make, and maybe is that a style that fits your needs, and you can scroll through and see, oh, I like this, and I like a little bit of this. And so when someone does come and meets us, and we can show them around the showroom, a lot of the time they have some ideas, but they don't really know what they really want. Mm-hmm. We can help them along, but sometimes I'll say, you know what a great source is too, is just to Google something you like, find 2 or 3 pieces and bring them to us, or send them to me on email, and Eric and I will work together to give you an idea of our concept, and then you can take that and say, I want to add this, or I want to take out that, and I want to change it to this color. I want to use this wood, and why would this be better for my decor in my home? And we just love working with someone to get the whole, what they want.
Okay, all right. So there's really nothing. I mean, you've done from even just in here, tables, coffee table, mantle, stools, high top, a bar. I mean, is there anything furniture-wise you can't do?
We stay away from cabinets.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
actually, we don't. We're just not. Our shop's not set up for casework.
No.
It's just a different animal.
Yeah.
And but we do doors. We do a lot of barn doors, and it's like the sliding barn door style doors, and mantles you mentioned.
And refinishing is something we really have a hard time. It's not something we specialize in. So there's a
We
lot
do
of people
get a lot
that
of questions
want
about
refinishing
that,
work. We'll give you some tips and ideas, and maybe some people that we know who might help you out. But
Yeah. Well, I want people to be excited to be a part of the story. Again, with it being Chronicle Mill now in full swing, it's 100% operational. Obviously, we're sitting in here today. If you're not watching on YouTube, then obviously come and check us out. But if you're listening, then you don't get to take this in. So you're going to want to go to YouTube to see this. Or you can go visit Eric and Brian and get custom furniture of your own. So whether it be personal, you want to do something in your home or in your business, obviously with Catawba Riverkeeper, I know you all have a big project with a local municipality coming up. Can I share?
We're still working on that too.
Okay.
But we've had a lot of other municipalities, City of
of
Belmont,
Belmont.
City of Gastonia. We've done a lot of work for the YMCAs around the areas.
We did the altar and furniture for Queen of the Apostle here in Belmont.
All of the furniture for there, the libraries. We like to be part of the community, and we like to help out, and put the wood that's in this community back into the community. So that's why we work with a lot of the partners around the area.
Yeah. Well, your fingerprints are already showing up everywhere, as far as the work that you're doing and what you're allowing people to be a part of. But again, it's a story. It's not just furniture. It's something that they're going to pass along or something they can really be proud of. It's a centerpiece. It's art. It really is. It's functional art is what you all do.
Yep.
You're a functional artist. You get to use it, but it's also really beautiful to stare at. And that's why I've been wanting to have you all on the podcast for a while, but we needed to make sure this was set up already so we can get to experience it together. But is there anything else that you want to share with the community about, working with you, or, why it matters to you before we go?
I don't know. I think we covered a lot of it. Just we're big advocates of the people around us. I moved down to this area for the weather and the people. They remind me of the people that, my small towns in West Virginia that I was raised with all my friends and family, and you come down here and you feel like you're a part of the family down here too. The people are really engaging. They get really excited about what we do, and so therefore we get excited creating something for them, for their home.
It's one thing to make a beautiful piece of furniture, but I think part of who we are and what really drives us is carrying on the legacy to get back to that.
Full circle.
Full circle. But the legacy of this area, the mills, the history, just keeping that going for generations to come in any way that we can, in saving them, not just the material, but like the history that's in the material, like every little nail, scratch, and anything that came from its prior life in the mills or wherever we get the wood from. We just like to carry that on, keep that legacy going.
Fantastic. Well, it's a story. It just happens to be told in the realm of furniture, or functional art is what I'm going to start calling you two, functional artists. So thank you guys for joining, doing what you do in the community. Obviously, we all call this place home, and I'm just really excited to get to share your story and connect people with you. So I hope it really does serve a lot of opportunity, but not only because I want to make sure your bills get paid. That's really important. But because what you do really is giving people a piece of history, a piece of legacy that they can pass on. And I know it's going to be quality. That bourbon board, one day I hope my great-great-grandson has a decanter, bourbon boards. I mean, I tell you, look, why not? You're welcome. Just start taking picture with decanters on them. But that's something that I really do hope to pass down. And I come from a background where there's not much that was there to pass down. There wasn't that level of intentionality. So what you all are doing really is legacy work. You're planting seeds in a garden you'll never get to see. And truthfully, someone planted this seed of this tree over 100 years ago, and it grew to now whatever it is. So we just plant those seeds and we allow someone else to bring the harvest. So I'm thankful for it and thankful to be in business with you guys. And, beyond actually just thinking about today and what you all are building, I know you're thinking in the future. Yeah. And so I really enjoy you guys. I'm appreciative to share your story, and thank you guys for being on. Thank you for joining us for another episode of the Building Belmont podcast. I'm your host, Keanu Trujillo, reminding you to subscribe, rate, and review on your favorite podcast platform. Be sure to like and subscribe if you're watching us on YouTube. And of course, share with a friend, share with a neighbor. We'll see you again next week as we capture more stories, create more connection, and share more information here on the Building Belmont podcast.